What's up, man?
How's it going, bro?
Good, dude. Good morning to you. You were messaging me probably at like 6 a.m. your time. So I was
Yeah,
just curious, like what time you get up today slash every day?
at the moment I tend to wake up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. I don't use an alarm. That's just when I wake
Really?
up. Like regardless of how much sleep I get, I will
Are you
wake up.
serious? So if you
Yeah.
stayed up late for some reason till whatever, midnight or something, you'd still wake up?
If I set up till midnight, maybe I'd wake up a little bit later, around
Yeah.
7. But yeah, like most of the time it's between 5:30 and 6, regardless
Dude,
of
I'm
when I get
so
to sleep.
jealous. I'm so jealous. We could talk about sleep for like 12 hours. It's so
Yeah,
interesting to
yeah,
me
yeah.
and I have so many struggles with it, but anyways, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, thanks. Long day for me. I got up at 4:15. So,
Oh man, that's
yeah,
early.
come at me. Yeah, baby.
So this is episode 1
Yep.
of the Outliers podcast, which if you're listening to this, it's probably going to be a bit of a train wreck because we haven't got much structure and it is the first one. But um, the I guess briefly, like just talking about why we're doing this or where the
Yeah.
idea came from. For me, like you, Sonny, I'm obsessed with human performance optimization, and also studying people who are, I guess, outliers, as the name would suggest, people who are the top of their field, are kind of outside the average on the end of the bell curve, the good end. And so I thought, why not start a podcast around this, some sort of long form discussion, maybe interviews at some point, and texted you about it, and you were keen. So here we are.
Yeah. And do you consider yourself personally like a performance junkie, kind of? I mean, you're always up to something. You're training something, you
Yeah.
have some fitness goal, some, I don't know. You probably from time to time you have coaches you use for any various things, whatever.
Absolutely, I would say I am. I do find it hard to like strike the balance between that and like just trying to optimize everything
Yeah.
to a detrimental point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, have,
Brian
have you
Johnson.
seen on have you seen on Twitter? Yeah, yeah. Have you seen on Twitter the Huberman type? Have you heard of that phrase?
No, I know Huberman.
Yeah. Well, there's like a meme called Huberman
Okay.
type, where it's someone who like
Yeah.
optimizes the shit
Yeah.
out of everything, but they don't actually do any work or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's constant optimization and optimization, but there's no living from the core or like the soul.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
soul to it. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. See, that's why I think it like Peter Attia talks about how it's so important to come up with your strategy before your tactics. And when it comes to health and
Mm,
performance, 99% of what's out there is tactics. That's all anybody wants to talk about is, dude, take this or try this, do 1,000 push-ups before
yeah.
noon. Like, for me, I try to focus on like performance pillars, which is like,
Yes.
sleep, body, mind, family, just a handful of those kind of basics. And I try to make sure that I'm just doing enough to be building and growing in each bucket instead of just optimizing for optimization's sake. The counter to that, though, is I freaking love to experiment. I'm sure you do
Mm,
too, but like I've always said this, I will try anything 3 times. Some people are
yeah.
like, oh, I'll try anything once. Not me, dude. I'll just keep trying it. I just love to try new things, do new things, hot stuff, cold stuff, in between stuff, change my nutrition, um, you know, anything. I'll basically try anything. So that's a part of my, but I enjoy that, that's not such an
Yes.
optimization. That's just a part of enjoying life for me.
Yeah, it's not a form of procrastination like it is for many people.
Yeah, totally. I have a lot to say about procrastination too. Yeah.
Well, that kind of segues into, I guess, our first little bullet point we have here in the notes. Uh, I'll ask you first. What are some of
Yeah.
those experiments that you've done, those tweaks, those tactics that have had
Yeah.
a significant, like, asymmetrical payoff in terms of performance, quality of life, health, whatever it may be?
Yeah, I got several of those. So a lot of these might be kind of basic. First one, because this is actually a little bit more recent for me, is hydration. And hydration, easy to dismiss, like pretty fucking simple, like drink water, right? But you kind of have to develop like a real strict regime around it to always be optimally hydrated. And I have never done that. So the reason why it's kind of blowing my mind right now is because, I'll tell you what I've done and what's changed is I'm drinking every morning, first thing, well, after my run, I'm drinking what I call a hydration bomb. And it's, the basic stuff. It's hydration salts. It's, I mix in lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, ginger, turmeric, magnesium. I just started putting in colostrum, like bovine colostrum. So that's a
Mm.
new thing for me. But this thing is just like a hydration bomb. And after drinking that first thing in the morning, I almost don't need to drink water again for the rest of the day. It is insane. I am
Yeah.
never thirsty. I am peeing like a fraction of the amount that I was peeing before. So after that, I'll probably drink two of these in a day,
Right.
and I'll stop drinking water like plenty of time before sleep. And so I'm just super pumped because, like, another example, when I'm in the sauna, I'm not thirsty anymore. When
Hmm.
I work out at the gym or I'm lifting pretty hard for like an hour, I'm not like, God, I need water, like I have been in the past.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do hydrate during activities, but that's the first thing. It's like small thing, like that hydration drink probably costs like 99 cents or whatever, and has
Mm.
just blown the game up.
I love that. I think just the electrolytes and salt alone for me has been a game changer. Just at
Mm-hmm.
the gym, like I just used to drink water. That was it.
Yeah.
And then I came across, I'd tried electrolyte powders in the past, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is most of them have like hardly any salt,
Uh huh.
you know, like or at
Not
least
to
the ones
mention
you buy here.
sweeteners,
Yeah,
colors, and
yeah, all
shit.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I remember the first time I had Element, which is like one
Yeah.
gram of sodium, like it's a lot. I was like, man, this tastes so salty. I don't know how people drink
Yeah.
this. And then
Did you
after the
taste
fifth
the
time, it's
the
like,
unflavored one, like the raw unflavored one?
I no, I didn't.
It's horrible. I mean,
Is
literally
it?
tastes like you were drinking ocean
Just salt.
water. Yeah. And
Oh
my wife
man.
loves the unflavored. I'm like, you're crazy. Yeah.
Well, that's why I didn't get it because I was like, it probably doesn't taste that good.
It's so bad.
Um, but just like a game changer. Like if I have one of those when I work out, like you said, I don't really have to drink the rest of the day. There's just something
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
getting it in.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, I'm coming from a place where I used to regularly wake up in the middle of the night, super thirsty, and get up and drink like half a liter of water at like
hmm,
2 a.m. So, anyways, I'm doing way better on hydration. And frankly, that was an extremely easy win. So that's why it's the
yeah,
number one on my list of small things with a big impact.
I like that. What
Yeah.
else?
Oh, I got a bunch. My next one is, and I guess I sort of focus a little bit more like on like gadgets in a way. But the next big thing for me, and so like the first one, like I'm a salt warrior now. Like I'm trying to
Yep,
educate the world about salt. Everybody thinks salt is bad for you, and shitty salt kind of is bad for you, but
sure.
sidebar. So the next thing is nose. My nose. I made my nose a huge priority. Never have before, have never really thought about how important the nose is. A lot of
Get
people
like
are
a
talking about,
rhinoplasty or something, or
no, no. I'm talking about like caring for it, like caring
yeah,
for as a big priority. So like um a lot of people are talking about nose breathing now, which is great, and taping your mouth shut at night and all that stuff. But there's a few other things that I do. Um I use a neti pot, which is kind of a weird, like those things have been around for like actually like I don't know, like 2,000 years or something. It's kind of funny,
mm,
but I use a neti pot, gets everything super clean and open. I use a saline spray before bed so that I'm just like really clear and moisturized, never have a dry nose. And in the morning when I get up, when I'm going for a run or doing mobility or whatever, I use this cool little thing called Hale. You ever seen this?
mm,
HALE.
no,
It's a little plastic. You've probably seen something like it. It's like a little plastic uh, wedge that just pushes your nostrils open a little bit further. It's kind of funny. Like it makes you look a little bit weird, and your Face ID doesn't work anymore on iPhone. You have to always type in the number. But it's like all of a sudden you have like a oxygen tubes going into your nose. So I'll run with those in. I'll sauna with those in. And then at night I'm sleeping with hostage tape. I think there's a bunch of brands, but I use hostage tape. So
Right.
again, I highlight this because all in my investment in nose breathing and nasal health, which turns out to be like wickedly important, has cost me like, you know, $15 or something.
Mm.
And this is something that's newer for me as well. Like I didn't even think about this for 34 years, you know, of my life.
Yeah.
And now it's a big priority.
Yeah, gotcha.
And you've been doing mouth taping, right? Or you have sometimes?
I've always been a nasal breather. And I
Yeah,
know that
nice.
people are like, oh, well, you might still be mouth breathing during the night. Like, I never wake up with a dry mouth. So, you know, I do it occasionally. Like at the moment, I've got a little bit of a sore throat, and I'm like, it probably makes sense for me to mouth tape. So, like last night, I taped. My wife does it, and yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. Like most people I've talked to who have done it are like game changer for sleep.
Well, I mean, some people need it and some people don't. Do you track
Yeah,
your sleep data like pretty rigorously or
yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah.
Every night.
So if you
Which
have good
I've
sleep
gone on and
numbers,
off, by the way. That's probably a topic for
yeah,
another
yeah,
time. Like some people
yeah,
over track.
yeah,
Um,
totally. Totally. Yeah. I just look at deep plus REM as a percentage of total. And I'm trying to
mm,
get 50% or higher on deep plus REM. And that's like my sleep efficiency thing. But if I mouth tape, I get way more deep sleep. If
yeah.
you get enough deep sleep, like without it, then God, why would you do it? It's pointless.
The one thing I would like to fix with my sleep, like I get pretty good sleep, um, is I always wake up at least once to
You
go
do?
toilet. Like to to
Do you
take a
stop
piss. I
drinking a
like
couple hours before bed?
no.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
You're
probably it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Jesus. You don't need a fucking performance consultant
Well,
to tell you that
it's
one.
not like I'm drinking a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I might
Yeah.
have half a glass of
Yeah.
water, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell
I'm
you,
coming to
the
town.
thing that has changed that for me is the hydration thing in the morning, which I know you use salts and stuff. I don't know if you do like every single day or whatever. And then
No.
I stop. I completely total liquid cessation 2 to 3 hours before bed.
Okay.
That does the trick for me.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah. What's something off your list? Small things with huge payoff recently.
Yeah, a lot of things coming to mind were like not small things. Like the zone 2 cardio is not a small thing. It's like actually a commitment. So I'm not going to mention that.
Yeah.
Uh, well, the recent one, as we've discussed previously, is just cutting back on caffeine, which I've
Okay.
been doing for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
But do you
I
think
haven't
you're
quit
already feeling like benefits from that, or is it just pain?
100%. I
Oh
felt the
yeah.
benefits within the first 3 days, and I didn't expect to.
Uh huh.
I'm not quitting cold turkey like some more ambitious people.
Me.
Yeah,
I just did.
I it's crazy, man. I've tried that before and it didn't end well.
Hmm.
But that's been huge. Like I was having, to give you some context, I was having about 3 coffees before 11 a.m. So I would wake
Yeah.
up, I'd have a coffee. Uh, 2 hours later, I'd have another coffee. 2 hours later, I'd have another coffee. And then
Let me ask
sometimes I would
you.
have like,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, I wanted to ask because I've been in situations like that where I've built a habit of drinking coffee after coffee. When you get to that point where you're like, I need to cut back, are you still feeling the effects of the coffee you're drinking? Like, are they
no,
amping you up? Are they making you kind of feel great and focused? That's
no,
what happens to me.
it's
It's
literally
exactly what
just
happens
like
to
a
me.
ritual at this point. You know,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've just
And I say, and
associated it with like work.
totally. And I just, for me, it's just the ritual of it. It's such a nice little distraction to make it, to have it. God, I'm going to miss coffee.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've only been off of coffee, like cold turkey, for a little over a week. But for
Mm,
coffee, that feels like a big deal. You know what I mean?
yeah, that is
Yeah.
big. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get to that actually. I'm curious how it's going. Um, anyway, cut back.
Yeah.
It wasn't because it was like negatively affecting me, or at least that's not what I thought. I was like, I can deal with coffee fine. I don't get anxious. I don't get the jitters.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I saw that Alex Becker had quit, and I'm a bit of an Alex Becker fanboy because I like what he's doing with the optimization stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do it as well,
Yeah.
and cut down to one. And honestly, within a couple of days, I was like, sure, I felt a little bit lower energy, like lower
Mhm.
intensity, but I was so much more calm.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've not been this calm in a long, long time. I was like, is this what
Nice.
I've been missing? Like, is this like maybe it has been negatively affecting me? I just haven't noticed because it's been so long and so
Yeah.
consistent. So now I'm down to about half a coffee in the morning, like first
Yeah.
thing, and
And
that's
you got to
it.
keep dialing
And
it down.
yeah, and the biggest payoff, the biggest return on investment there has just been like all day energy. I 100% miss the intensity that comes with like a very strong coffee,
Uh-huh.
but um, but like in the evening, for example, I'm tired, but I'm not tired. If you know what I mean,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
sleep like that, but
Yeah.
I can still focus on something. I can still read books, engage with people. Um, so it's been great. It's huge.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody has ever like confirmed if this is a known side effect of caffeine, but let's say I haven't had caffeine in a month and then I have a coffee. Amazing, right? Just get that big
Mm,
boost. It's like, I mean, not that I'm speaking from experience. It's like doing a line of cocaine. Am speaking from, anyways. Um, but then as I build more and more into it, and I'm at that point where I'm like drinking 4 or 5, it makes me literally exhausted. Like I'll be
yeah,
so
yeah,
tired. I'll drink a coffee. I will be more tired, and
yeah.
then that night won't be able to sleep. So it's like a mismatch on that one. But yeah, I'm happier without it. I'm really trying to concentrate on my energy levels, and
Mm,
as much as I love coffee, it does like artificially impact energy levels. So I'm just trying to reset my whole system and see what's in there. One of my big concerns for myself personally in performance is energy level.
sure.
Um, if you look at the scale of like, Tony Robbins is up here, a guy who's just like literally
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
24/7, and then like the laziest person in the world who's on a couch. I'm honestly, I'm probably in the like 60 to 70 percentile, 50 to 60,
Mm,
something in there. And I really want to get some more of that kind of Tony Robbins pump going on, just like big energy. And I follow a lot of people, and I know a lot of people, I'm sure you do too, who are like that. And I'm always wondering, I'm like, where the fuck do you get all that extra energy, and how
yeah.
can I get some? But yeah,
Do you think part of that is like faking it until you make it?
I do. I do. But at the same time, when I say that, I'm like, but what about when you're just actually extremely tired? I think what I need
Yeah.
is when I am legitimately extremely tired, I need something to do. I need like a protocol, a solution, whatever it is. And I don't necessarily want it to be more sleep. Again, something we've
Sure.
talked about, like, I don't think more sleep is exactly the solution to all of our sleep problems. I think you agree.
So you're on day 7. You've quit caffeine cold turkey.
Yeah,
Uh, was it? Was it? And is it hard? I mean, how are you feeling?
I'm fine. It
You're
really
fine.
wasn't. It was the only hard part for me is the ritual aspect of it. And
Mm,
I work in coffee shops, and also a
yeah.
topic for a different day. I've told you this like personally, but I don't really identify as an alcoholic or an addict, but
Mm,
I identify as being right on the slippery slope.
yeah.
So I have to just be careful with this stuff. And like, I tend to, as goofy as it sounds, like I tend to kind of like abuse caffeine in a way, like just
Yeah.
use
Sure.
it just in a way that's just like not good. So it's been completely fine. The first couple days, a little tired, a little bit of headaches like everyone, but I don't know, maybe my body just sort of handles that kind of transition pretty well.
Do you think you will use it? Do you think you'll consume it again? Like one thing I want to experiment with maybe a few months from now is using caffeine strategically. I just don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I can trust myself to do that. But I know people, I think humans talked about it like, you know, like what you said before, super tired for whatever reason. Maybe it's in the morning. It's like, okay, I'll have a coffee today, like my one coffee per week or whatever. And it just
Yeah.
gets you to that point where you can crush some work. I'm super interested in that, like using it as a tool instead of a habit.
I am too. If anything, I have thought about rituals that might be just kind of enjoyable for me. Because again, like coffee and caffeine, it's about enjoyment for me. Like it's just a part
Yeah.
of good life for me. So I've thought about like Monday morning is my only coffee of the week, right? And it would just be
Mm,
like the best coffee ever.
yeah.
And I remember hearing an interview with Jocko a long time ago. I think really way before everybody knew about Jocko. It was one of his very first like podcast interviews. And he talked about how he uses caffeine, like if he's going to go on like a long drive or like pulled an all nighter for some military thing. Of course, he'll use caffeine, but he uses like a specific type, a specific amount, and it's from some kind of like a white tea that has like a lot of caffeine. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
the
that's
pomegranate
kind of
white tea.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I
Yeah.
never looked into it. By the way, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Jocko on that podcast a long time ago. And it was early in the episode before you know, like, wow, this is a beast of a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoever it was asked him the question. They were like, okay, so let's say if you're at like a bar at like a social event, like what are you going to be drinking? And he leans into the mic and he goes, water. It's just like so hard. Like no follow up. He's just like water. And I'm like, damn, dude is hardcore.
I don't know if I've told you this, but there's a memory that I have of Jocko that I will never forget because it's so burned into my brain. I went to his conference, the Muster or whatever it's called in Sydney,
Oh, I'm not
and they
familiar with that.
do, yeah, it's like leadership, business leadership stuff. If you've read the book, then it's like the book in conference form, but it's great. Like the energy's cool.
Yeah.
Um, and they do like these workouts at 4:30 in the morning or like 5 a.m. in
Yeah.
the morning. We're down near the harbour, and it's just like circuit training, body weight squats, so on and so on, and burpees. I
Yeah.
hate burpees. Everyone does, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like 5 in the morning. I'm doing these burpees. My body's wrecked. Like I can't get another one out, and I just look up, and Jocko's staring like right at me. We're making eye contact, and I can't remember what he says. He says something like, "Do more," or like, "You can do
Yeah.
more." And I was like,
Yeah.
"All right," like he
Yeah.
stared into my soul, and I'll never forget
Yeah.
it. I was just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Yeah."
And I
It
love
was, it
stuff
was
like that.
terrifying, actually.
I have always loved tough love. And I've always
Yes.
wanted it for myself. I have always wanted father figures and secondary father
Yep.
figures, coaches who will be ruthlessly hard on me. I had a
Mm.
kickboxing coach for a while, Muay Thai actually. And he would make us do planks forever. It'd be like you do an eternity of planks,
Oh
and then
man.
you do a
Yeah.
sprint, and then you do push-ups, and then you're back on the plank. And he would come around when things got tough. And if you were like sinking on the plank, he would come around and kick you in the kidneys. Like just not as hard as he can, but like just pop,
Yeah.
pop until you got your plank back up. And let me tell you, dude, you'll do a plank for an hour and a half when he's kicking you in the gut.
Mm.
I love it.
I think it's important to have that.
Yeah, it's rare. It's too
Cool.
rare. Yeah.
Next thing, and this is kind of a continuation from what we just talked about. What is the kind of the biggest thing you're focused on right now, performance wise?
So this year for me, so starting back January 1, so we're halfway through the year. This year for me, the main thing for me was total cessation of alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was a thing for me where sometimes I have goals like that where I'm like, this is so important for me that if I can accomplish this, I'm okay for a little while. Maybe I don't need to
Mm.
worry about lots of other things that I need to develop and optimize and need to achieve. Like this is the most important thing. And knock on wood, I have thankfully crushed that. So I guess I'm like day 190 or whatever it is. I quit drinking. My daughter was
Amazing.
born on January 1st, and I drank that day, and it's kind of an embarrassing memory. I drank a lot the day my daughter was born, and I looked in the mirror and was like, "What are you doing, man? Like,
Mm,
you got a new baby here, and you're drinking like too much on that day. It's a
yeah,
shame, you know." And then the next day, January 2nd, I've not had a drink since. So that was a big
that's
thing.
awesome.
But it goes back into all the other big things that kind of domino from there. My next biggest priority has been sleep, and alcohol has a insane impact on sleep quality.
Oh
So
yeah.
quit the booze. Sleep quality's going up already just because of that. And then I've done a bunch of sleep work as well, changing the time I go to bed, changing the time I get up, the mouth taping, the nose breathing, not peeing during the night, like this whole litany of things I've done to improve my sleep efficiency. And again, because I find it interesting, um, sleep efficiency for me is REM plus deep sleep amount of time divided by total. And Matt
Mm,
Walker, who is, I don't know, some people disagree with stuff he says. He's like a sleep PhD type guy. He says that if that number is 50% or higher, then that's really good sleep efficiency. It means you're not laying
mm,
around for 6 hours in light sleep, which is
yeah.
good. I do recommend Matt Walker's episode on Tim Ferriss, by the way. And then you found, after he was on there, you found another guy who sort of rebutted a lot of his points, and I
Yeah, it
recommend
was
that too.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's good
really
to have
good.
both
Yeah,
sides of it because
yeah,
with all of this stuff, like people repeat things, and it's like I think one of the rebuttals was that 8 hours of sleep. It's like there's not that much evidence to suggest we need eight
yeah,
hours. Like
yeah,
the study's not that. It's like probably should aim for 8 hours. Like it's not going to hurt
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Um,
I've been getting, so since I started getting up earlier and because of my kids' bedtime and whatever, I've been getting much, much closer to 7 hours, like between
yeah,
6.5 and 7 hours. And I've been
yep.
really happy with that. It has taken an adjustment, but my understanding is that if you rigidly constrain your sleep, your efficiency will go up. Like you will get better sleep in a shorter amount of
Mm.
time if you lock in that time frame. So I'm hoping for that.
For me, I'm getting around that as well, like 6.5. Um, I'd say I average about 6 hours, 40 minutes. The thing is, I feel great, and like
That's awesome.
what I cannot do is fall back to sleep when I wake up. If I
Oh,
wake up at
okay.
5:30, I'm not getting back to sleep, no matter how hard I try, which
Yeah.
is is like a blessing and a curse because sometimes I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
want to sleep in,
Yeah,
especially
of
in
course.
it's winter here and like the sun doesn't
Yeah.
come up until 8 in the morning, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not ideal. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
so the
there's the
8 hour thing,
booze.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Booze, the sleep, and that entails getting up early, which for me personally, the biggest performance anything challenge of my life is getting up early in the morning.
Mm,
Um, that varies by people. I don't know why that is. It's not like I slept super late as a kid or anything. Like I think I've had reasonable sleep hygiene throughout my life to some extent, but pushing that wake up time to sort of the 6 and then the 5 a.m. and now I'm sort of working on 4:15 a.m. is so tough for me. And honestly, I have been trying to do it consistently for a decade and I fail
right.
every time. So I'm on such like a good trajectory right now with my health that I'm hoping it sticks this time, but I'll report back.
Do you can you work well in the evening? Like, would you call yourself an evening person?
The thing is, if I was just left to my own devices, yeah, I would have
Mm,
a very alert, engaged time, whether it's work or whatever. I'd be very alert and engaged from 9 p.m. to like 1 or 2 a.m.
interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would gladly sleep until 10 a.m.
See, I cannot do that. Like past 9 p.m., I'm not a functioning human being.
Yeah.
I, I find it hard to even read a book.
Yeah.
So I
I,
think there's definitely something to that. Like, is it soma type? Is that what it's called?
something I do
Something like
think
that.
that
Yeah.
I'm not one to use genetics as an excuse for anything, but I think there is a bit of a genetic component to like your sleep
Yeah.
archetype kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a good book from Daniel Pink called When, and he talks about this. It's like basically a book on time, but he has
Yeah.
like a chapter on the morning person, evening person, and there's like people in the middle. Or
Yeah.
like there's people that are both. It's like good for you.
Yeah. I
I'm a
think
morning person.
Daniel Pink has been called a softie, right? Isn't he kind of like a
Is it?
classic, like soft boy, small guy
Yeah,
kind
probably
of
is.
thing, like weak guy, left wing kind of weakling type dude? I'm trying to remember
Just
like
got
where
us
I've heard
cancelled, man.
that. Yeah. No, it's all right. Well, I mean, better sooner than later. I mean, we're going to get canceled at
Yeah, all
some
right,
point.
yeah.
And then the last thing I'll throw in is consistent ice baths. I've been interested in cold therapy for
Mm,
many years, have done cold therapy for many years, but it's never been regular. And so
sure.
I've got a cold plunge now. And so I'm doing that. I really like it, actually. It's not
Mm.
that hard for me, I guess. So I'm going to keep pushing it. So I'm doing it like every other day or even a few days in a row. I want to keep that going.
So when do you do that? Like first thing in the morning?
No, I get up, I do fasted cardio, I go to the sauna, and then I hop in the cold plunge.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And the fasted cardio is new, and that's my last piece is the zone 2 stuff, which I know is a thing for you,
Mm,
but I have never done zone 2 ever. So I've heard about it, but
yeah.
tracking my heart rate and trying to keep it that low is freaking tough, man, because I
Yeah.
enjoy exercising at higher intensity levels as opposed to just, oh, how slow am I going? So I'm doing zone 2 as a part of that morning routine.
Love that. Yeah, zone two is going to be my answer to this, or one of them at least. It's been a game changer for me. A few months ago, I realized I was like, man, I've got so much energy. Like I'm crushing life. Like I feel so good, and I was like, why? And the only thing I could point to was 3 to 4 times a week, I was either going for a zone two run outdoors or doing incline treadmill and getting the heart rate to that
And that's like
within
an
that range.
hour, like a 1 hour session, 3 to 4 times a week.
I normally aim, if I'm going for a run, it will be between 45 to 60 minutes, and
Yeah.
same on the treadmill. 45 minutes seems to be a good. I'm basing this off Peter Attia, what he said.
Yeah.
It's like anything less than 30, you're probably not going to spend that much time in zone two because you've got to ramp up, and like there's a certain adaptation that happens.
Yeah.
Um, and that adaptation requires time in zone two, not just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Admittedly, the past few weeks I haven't been that consistent, but it's been huge. And it's like I made a rule for myself that I would only listen to podcasts and like long form YouTube videos
Mm-hmm.
if I am walking, driving, which is like not that often, um, or doing zone two at the gym.
Okay, so you believe in listening to things while you work out because that's
Only,
controversial. Only
only,
those.
only zone two. I
Yeah.
don't listen to anything when I'm lifting.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't listen to anything when I do jujitsu. Only zone two because I don't know about you, man, but walking on a treadmill, it's so boring. Like for
It's
45 minutes, it is the most boring thing you can do.
yeah.
Running, I don't listen to anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Even zone 2?
Never have. Even zone two, I don't listen to
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay,
wear
that's cool.
headphones.
I completely support that because when I was training for some endurance stuff before, the long runs were the part that I just found the most grueling. And I would just to motivate myself, I would say, on the runs, you can listen to podcasts. And hey, it got me going.
Yeah.
So do what you got to do.
See, for me, it's like, well, here's something I've been trying to articulate and maybe turn into a piece of content. And we've actually got it on this list. I think
What?
there's this link between physical endurance and the ability to do deep work for long hours.
Yeah, I'm really
I'm
curious
trying to
about
explore
that
this
too.
more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what I noticed, right? Like when I was training for the marathon, which I did in April, um, there there were so many sessions where I was like, it was actually not the pain and discomfort that got to me; it was the boredom.
Yeah.
And
Just
so
like
I remember
another
one.
Yeah. Another
Yeah.
2-hour run,
Dude, even listening to a podcast, there was one time, um, I think it was like the week or two before the marathon, I did 90 minutes on incline treadmill with a weight vest. At the 45-minute mark, I was like, I'm so done. I'm so done. And I just kept telling myself, like, no, like, keep pushing, keep pushing. Like, you committed to this. You said you were going to do it. So you need to fulfill your commitment.
Yeah.
And that whole, like, it sounds so cliche and simple, but if you go to the gym or you sit down to work and you say, I'm going to write for an hour, I'm going to work out for an hour, you better do it. And you better not quit at 30 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
the more you do that, the more you break your word to yourself. Like, you're just going to do it again and again and again. And so
Totally.
what I found was that by keeping my word to myself in exercise, saying, no, I'm going to hit that 90-minute mark because that's what I came here to do, it crossed over into work where I was like, deep work, 3 hours. And I'd get to that point 1.5 hours in and be like, oh man, I'm bored. Like, I just want to do something else. It's like, no, just keep going.
Mm-hmm. So you stayed on the treadmill, right? I just want to.
Stayed on the treadmill.
Okay, I thought you were going to say you got
100%.
off, and I was going to be like, no.
No. Absolutely
Oh
not. No, I
god.
stayed on. I pushed through. And
Good for you,
you
man.
know how it is. Like, when you do that, it feels so good when you actually finish.
Yeah. Have you ever had
When you
like
quit,
experiences when it doesn't feel good though? I've had a lot of experiences when I've been like, I am going to fucking finish this thing. It's 30 more minutes. And then I do it. And then when I'm done, I'm like, God, I hated that. It sucked. I wish I didn't even do it. And I still feel that way even after. It happens.
I can't say I felt that. I always feel happy that I've like pushed through. What I don't like is when I get home and I'm like, I left some on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
I mean, not to get us off track, but that's something I'm struggling with a little bit right now is I do not know when, in terms of physical activity and exertion, I do a lot of different stuff like you. I
Mm,
don't know when to truly empty the tank and when to leave a few reps in there. Because I do believe that if you're working on hypertrophy and health and injury free, like I don't really, and maybe Jocko's different, like I don't think you truly empty the tank like
no,
every
you're right.
day or every workout.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm trying to figure out because I have a trainer, his programming is phenomenal, but sometimes it's like that was like a 45-minute lifting session,
Yeah.
not bad. I crushed it. I feel fine. And I'm like, it's almost like I feel guilty. I'm like, I think I need to lift for 20
Yeah.
more minutes, but it's not in the workout.
Totally. Yeah. I actually take back what I said about leaving things on the table. Like, I could articulate it better. It's like you do the best for that specific objective for your
Yeah.
training session.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, I can't remember. You know that guy, the kettlebell guy. What's his name? Pavel Satsurin.
Yeah. Yeah. Pavel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pavel.
He, in one of his books, and I've never done the kettlebell. I did it for like a few weeks. He says you shouldn't go to the gym and think about working out. It's like, it's training. It's like a
Yeah.
skill. And I was
Yeah.
like, I kind of like that. Like, the idea of working out and just, I see these people, you probably do this, so no offense, but the people who do like the F45 CrossFit stuff,
Mhm.
but they aren't professionals and they're coming to the gym 5 times a week and they're just killing themselves. It's like,
It's sad.
oh,
It's really hard to watch.
you're getting sick every 3 weeks. No wonder why. Like, your CNS is just getting absolutely annihilated.
It's hard. It's hard to watch, man. I
Yeah.
see it. I see it every
So,
time I'm at the gym because my gym has a CrossFit box on it and you can
right.
use the stuff. And so I see guys in there who are like not particularly mobile, not in great shape,
Yeah.
probably have some cardio work going, and they're doing
Yeah.
like snatches, like 15 in a row, and it looks like shit. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you need to
Yeah.
be doing Olympic snatches right now,
No,
brother.
no, no. No, you got to work up to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something I think about a lot. Like, how far can you push it? Should you push it? Um, one thing I'm realizing more and more is like you get to a certain point where you've been training for a long time where you can kind of just sense if you're verging on overdoing it.
Yeah.
Like you wake up, you feel a bit tired. You're like, all right, probably shouldn't like do zone 5 air bike assault bike sprints today.
Yeah.
Because if I do, then yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm still figuring that out.
I definitely have that problem in jujitsu because I'm newer to
Mm.
jujitsu, than you. And in all the live rolling sessions that I've had, basically all of them, I always ask the more experienced guys for feedback. Like, hey, did I do anything wrong? Like for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
last class, I was with a guy. Um, he was not a small guy, but I was probably a little stronger than him. And I
Mm.
picked him up and I didn't body slam him, but I picked him up and like put him down kind of forcefully.
Yeah.
And after that, like the teacher and everybody was like, hey, you don't do that with your partner. And I was like, oh
Mm.
shit, sorry. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's with jujitsu, the feedback I get every single time is like, bro, you're working too hard. Cause I'm like
Yeah.
gassing myself in like 10 minutes. And they're like, when you go to the
Interesting.
advanced class, you'll be rolling for like 60 minutes. You
Yeah.
gotta slow it down. But I just love that intensity, man. I just want to freaking rip people's heads off. What can I say?
Same. So do I. But actually, one thing I've noticed about jiu-jitsu is like I'm probably man, I got to come over there and roll with you. It'd be so fun. But
Yeah.
I feel like I do pace myself pretty well. Maybe I'm a little bit too slow
Well,
because
my
I'll just
thing is
like
that
someone will get me in a position. I'll be nasal breathing. I'll be so calm. They're gassing themselves. I'm like, all right, they're probably going to choke me at some point in the next few minutes. But until then, I'm just going to stay here for as long as I can.
my thing is I don't want to lose. Like even in like, oh, we're just
Mm,
drilling for 2 minutes. Like I do not want to lose. So when I
mm,
start getting into a position where I'm like, there's a choking arm really getting lodged in there, whatever, like I don't want to lose. I go fucking crazy. And so that's when
yeah.
people are telling me to take it easy. I'm like, does that mean just let them win so that I can start over again? Cause I haven't figured it out yet.
That's good. This conversation could turn into just jiu-jitsu, but
Yeah. Sorry.
we'll,
Yeah. No. All right. We got to switch.
no, there's a lot
Switch
more
it.
I want to talk about there.
Yeah, but to conclude, your zone 2 thing, basically you feel for yourself that the zone 2 training has given you like more energy, just generally
More
speaking.
energy, and it's got a lot of transfer to mental work, I think, way more than lifting
Yeah.
weights does. It's just, yeah.
Hmm.
I forgot who said it, but they're like, if you look at a lot of these high performing CEOs, they almost always have a solid cardio routine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's something there. I don't think it's fully been figured out yet, but worth
Next
exploring, I
time on
guess.
the pod, we will figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do we have? Oh, you gave your new stuff that you're working on, zone 2, right?
Zone 2, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I think it's that.
Jiu-jitsu. Like we're both working on jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu is great.
Yeah.
I, it's like you know how there's that meme or that joke about like if you're a vegan, like you can figure out who a vegan is because they'll tell you about it. I think it's the same with jiu-jitsu. It's like you'll know if someone does jiu-jitsu because they will tell you about it. And most people I talk to in real life, I'm like, God, you got to take it up. You got to get into it.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you why I started?
No.
There's a men's therapist guy. He's a really interesting dude. And
Oh, yeah, you
did I
posted it to
send you that?
Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
yeah.
just came on Instagram one day and he was like, so many men come to me for therapy. And my first response is, I think you need to go to a jujitsu class, not therapy.
Huh.
And I was like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had always wanted to start
Why do you think
anyways,
it is?
but
Why do you think he said that? Did he explain it?
because jujitsu is a physical activity, and he thinks a lot of men need to be engaged with their body, like doing body work,
Yeah.
physical work, engaging with another human physically, like
Yes.
grabbing, touching, throwing humans, and talking and making friends and being
Mm,
social. And jujitsu brings it all together, whereas therapy is just kind of such a limited modality, just talk and response.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
100%
that's
agree.
it. Yeah. So we have, I guess this will probably like wrap it up for us, but this is a pretty good intro for the first episode, which is some controversial opinions we have. And we're talking about therapy, so that leads right into it. So I'll throw out my first one. Talk therapy is mostly bullshit. So there we go, folks.
Oh,
Cancel and run away.
I would agree with that, but I don't know if I can because I've never been to therapy, so I don't feel like I can have an informed opinion. I've just read about the history of it, and I think a lot of it is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
a
fair.
bit shaky.
Now, the big caveat is that I do think talk therapy can be incredibly helpful to a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. But the idea that it will like fundamentally solve your mental health problems or challenges is a joke. You need so many more inputs and so many different types of mental engagement, so to speak, to conquer those things. And I speak as a person who has done therapy, would say that they've been depressed before. Nothing like crazy, too serious, like
Sure.
nothing suicidal or any of that type of thing. I have had attention issues and I've been prescribed a couple things in the ancient past and so forth. So I'm definitely not an expert, but I have some experience. At the end of the day, I concluded that my mental health is my problem and
Yeah.
I have to figure it out. I might engage a therapist as a part of that, but not the other way around. You know what I mean? Like it would just be one input into my mental health plan that I am building for myself. So
I like that. It does seem to me like it's kind of, it's almost advertised as like the magic pill, the
yeah,
silver bullet.
it's become a meme too. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, everybody needs a therapist. You need a therapist. We all need a therapist. Not really. We all need people to talk to, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe you need more friends who you have sort of therapeutic conversations with or whatever. But that's my rant on therapy. Amazing for some people in certain circumstances, but like generally like crazy overrated.
I think that's why I've never been, because I just have trusted people I can talk to, if I'm dealing with
Yeah,
something.
good.
It's
Yeah.
like, but who knows? Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
No, I
We
probably
can go
still
back
won't
and
go.
forth.
I'll just.
We can go back and forth. That's my first controversial opinion. What's yours?
I
Did you not have
I have
any?
many. No,
Oh,
I have
you have.
many, but there's some that are not related to performance, so I won't share them on this podcast.
Well, I have like two that aren't
All right,
really
you carry
performance
on while I
related.
think.
Well, this one's a little more performancy, and I think you'll sort of recoil at this one. But I think mental models are basically bullshit, or maybe
Interesting.
more accurately, mental models are just a form of procrastination.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah. Well, I think they're interesting, right? Sort of like
Yeah.
biology is interesting. Not that biology is a waste of time or anything, but it's in that category for me. Like it's not like super actionable, super useful. It's probably a bigger distraction. Overall, my fundamental thought here is there is actually one mental model that matters, and it's shut the fuck up and do it. And that's like my mantra right
Yes.
now. And I told you this. It's abbreviated. It's Stifuati. It's my new Hakuna Matata. Stifuati. Shut the fuck up and do it. That to me, like that's the mental model that 99.9% of people need right now. Probably me and you included. Now, I think you could learn and get a bunch of cool ideas from mental models. There's nothing wrong with them. I just mostly see them used sort of as a form of procrastination or mental masturbation.
Yep, I can see that. I think one thing I've been thinking about is if you're the type of person like I am, who is by nature analytical and a researcher and strategic, one of the best things you can do is like not double down on that and instead just execute, because you are not going to work on something. You're not going to be stupid. If you're that type of person naturally, you're intuitively going to make reasonable decisions, I think.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I never thought about that. Yeah. In other
does
words,
that
like
make sense?
yeah, like in other words, like your gut is not going to be that wrong. Like it might be a
Exactly.
little off, but it's probably still justifiable to do the
Yeah,
damn
like the
thing.
higher leverage thing you can do is like just do the work. Whereas there are some people who I know who are like great at execution, but I see them and it's like, man, you're just you're kind of in the wrong direction. Like you could just step back a bit, maybe use the mental models, maybe be a bit more strategic, and then go
Yeah.
back to execution. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so but you've read and written a lot about mental models and you know way more about them than I do. um have you found some that have been more than just interesting? Like some that have been profoundly impactful for you or have like whatever changed your mind about different stuff, or has it mostly just been sort of research?
I would say, like as embarrassing as it is, like most of that, I agree with you. Like it's been mental masturbation, right? Um, it's hard to quantify how useful they are because I think a lot of that thinking happens again like on a subconscious level, or you're using mental models in your decision making that you learned about years ago, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
really saying like, oh, I'm going to employ the mental model of sunk cost fallacy or like explore and
Yeah.
exploit. Like you're not saying
Yeah.
that to yourself. It's just coming in through your thought.
Mm-hmm.
So like one mental model I do use a lot, just intuitively now, is like exploration versus exploitation. It's like you you know, if you explore for too long, you're never going to exploit. And if you exploit too early, then you might not do it on the best thing or the highest leverage in the highest leverage way. So it's like finding that ideal point to execute on something you've been researching or thinking about. I think is a difficult thing to do, especially if you're an analytical type and tend to procrastinate. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think with a lot of the stuff, if you look at guys like Charlie Munger and all of them, it's like, did they succeed because of their mental models, or is that like somewhat of a post rationalization?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna say it's something
Yeah.
after the fact. They were like, "Oh, this would be a good piece of content." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But you bring
I
you
don't know
you
the
did
answer.
bring up a good point that to the extent, like I don't know if things like confirmation bias and sunk cost fallacy, et cetera, if those are mental models, those ones are important. There
Yeah.
are a lot of mental models that we all have, the average human uses to make decisions that we don't know about. And I think
Mm.
knowing about what's operating on you is important. So, like the first time I learned
Yes.
what confirmation bias was, I was like, oh, it makes all sense. And because when you know that, you can bring awareness to
Yeah.
your confirmation bias and say, hey, let me put that aside and like try to actually see something new here. And that's
Yeah.
actually been super important to me.
Yeah. No, I actually, I coming full circle. I do think they're actually helpful, um, because I think you know, it's like if I hadn't had learned these things, then I would be easier to manipulate. I think that's what it is for me at the end of the day. It's like a, a good example. You're you're 18 years old. You're scrolling Twitter. You see this person say dropshipping is the best business model. Like blah blah blah. Look at this, and they're just using all the sales techniques. And like, if you don't know any better, or you haven't studied the biases, you haven't read a book like Influence, um, you can get taken for a ride,
Yeah.
in a bad way. And so it's like I think to protect yourself against that is extremely useful. It's
Hmm.
to me, it's like what Charlie Munger says, avoiding being stupid. I love that idea.
Hmm.
Like, don't try to be smart, just avoid being stupid. I
Hmm.
try to live life like that.
Damn, that is a good
Um,
one. That is a good one.
yeah.
I got one more for you. Did you, unless you thought of one? Controversial opinion.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Goals, and I'm really curious your thoughts on this. Goals are overrated. I'm not a big goal guy. I'm not a big goal setter. I don't really have any concrete goals that I really am focused on right now. And I always sort of thought that or felt self conscious about it. But then years ago, I read Scott Adams' book called
Mm,
it's something like How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. It's
Yeah.
actually such a good book. That guy got real
That's a great book.
controversial, like when Trump was coming out. Have you read that one?
Oh, yeah, it's a great book.
It's
Yeah.
a good book. I mean, you can read it in like 2 hours in one sitting or
Mm.
something. But he really got me going on that, which is like the system matters and the inputs to the system matter. And you just have to trust that if you're building the system and following the system, better and better outcomes are going to be happening. And you can't really control the outcome always. You can just control what
Mm.
you're putting in to achieve. And that's resonated with me. And I have always sort of shied away from like spending a lot of energy on goals. And I do wonder what I'm missing out on that though.
Well, I guess a counterpoint to that, because I've thought about that. I've thought about the systems thing. I agree with it. However, the one thing I think goals offer, especially when they're defined well, is alignment, clarity, and motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really hard to just like have a system without a goal,
Mm-hmm.
because I get more energized when I'm like, there's this ambitious goal that it might not be extremely defined, it might even be vague, but it's like a sort of North Star I'm working towards. For example, when I had the mountain marathon booked in, like my training was way better. I could give myself the system of, okay, you're going to run 3 times a week and build that up, but without that goal in mind, like I just wouldn't have done it. Right. So I
Yeah.
think goals are useful for that activation energy, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I think, and Scott Adams might have said this in his book, where if you have a goal and you just focus on that goal every day until you achieve that goal, you are in a mode of failure, basically, not achievement. Whereas with the
Mm-hmm.
system, you can be in that mode of achievement every day you work on the system.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I guess the thing is that I actually do have goals, but I guess what I feel is that goals are just generally overblown and overrated in terms of their importance. So, for example,
Sure.
right now, over the next 6 weeks, I'm losing 8 or 10 pounds to look more shredded. That's a very clear goal. Like, that is the
Yeah.
goal. But I established that goal and I'm like, that's it. I'm not even thinking about it anymore because
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
like I'm tracking my macros. I'm working toward that, right? I'm focused on building that system
Yes.
every day. And so I'm just like, okay, what's the fucking big deal about goal? What's the goal? You want to lose 10 pounds? Because
No,
like,
I'm with you.
who
Yeah.
cares? Like everybody's goals are different. Like you might want to lose 15 pounds in the next 2 months. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
Like let's get to
Yeah.
work. So
I'm with you. You set the goal and then you just get to execute, and you kind of forget about the goal. It's just
yeah,
like you achieve it. That's how I think about it
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Like it just reminds me of when I completed my first triathlon. When finishing was actually like the low point. I was
Yeah.
literally finished and I was just like, man, I'm bummed it's
Yeah.
over. I looked at the
I know.
lake and was like, can I just walk down there and start again? You know? So,
Yeah, exactly. It's a finite game. That's the issue.
have you read Finite and Infinite Games by James Cars?
It's a great book. I've
So
been
good.
thinking about it a lot of the past few weeks, and I'm like, I need to read that book again.
That's one. There's a handful of books that I just keep close to my body. Like they're by
Mm,
my bed, they're in my backpack. Like there's a handful of them, and that is one of them.
love it.
Yeah.
We are coming up on the hour.
Yeah, dude.
I have a controversial opinion, which I'm not
Yes.
sure how to articulate that well. Um, but I don't even think this is that controversial anymore. I think almost everyone who's like using some sort of digital note taking app, who switches it, who's like trying to download the next task manager app, they're stupid, including myself. Because I've been reading like biographies and books about, say Leonardo da Vinci, and it's like this guy was the outlier of all outliers. He didn't have access
Pen and
to
paper, baby.
Notion. Yeah, pen and paper. And so I'm like, I'm actually forcing myself to not use these things now. And
Yeah.
I get the arguments. It's like, oh, well, you can link your thought and blah, blah, blah. And like pen and paper isn't as efficient. And, well, would you have been one of those people when pen and paper came along? You're like, no, I'm going to use stone tablets.
Yeah.
I get that, but I'm just like, I think it's more distracting than it is useful for a lot of people, including myself.
It
So,
was for me. I gave
Yeah.
Notion everything I had. I took a fucking online course on how to have
Dude,
the best
same.
Notion.
It's
I did it
kind of
all.
cringy.
I even paid money to buy, whatever Notion templates or whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
did use it. Like I used it for probably a year. And
Yeah.
then when I quit using it, it's like nothing happened. I didn't lose anything. I don't miss anything at all.
The question you have to ask is like, is this making me more effective or not?
Yeah,
And
probably
for
not.
me, it's like, it's just not.
And then at the same time, I have an app called Simple Note that's
Yeah.
made by the WordPress guys or whatever. It's just free. It's the most basic note taking app
Mm.
probably in the world. And I've used it for, I think, at least 10 years now. And so every time I try to change and do this and use Notion or Roam or whatever, I always end up back on Simple Note. Just
Huh.
open, title, brr, go. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's all you need.
That's all you
Yeah.
need. All right, man. So
I have
let's
other
wrap.
controversial opinions, but
Oh, I'm
we'll
sure
leave
you
them till
do.
next time.
Okay, yeah, we'll leave it to next
Yeah.
time. And we have like 50 other things we want to talk about. So, yeah, let's do this again. And excited.
Yeah, man. Good first episode.
That was fun. Later.
All right. Catch ya.